This is the Realty Classroom Podcast, episode number 142. The scariest things that I've heard listening to agents on Clubhouse. Are you a real estate agent with an entrepreneurial spirit who wants to turn your job into a business without sacrificing your lifestyle, but you just can't seem to find the right plan or any plan to help you get there? Well, then, hey, you are definitely in the right place. I'm Danny Griffin, the founder of the Realty Classroom and the host of this podcast. Now, to help you take immediate action to get started in the right direction, I've created a free strategic plan for you that's waiting at freeagentgift.com. That's freeagentgift.com. Get over there and get your copy of that, okay? All right, in this episode, I want to talk about this, the scariest things I've heard agents say on Clubhouse while I've been listening, and it's pretty scary. So let me really just preface it by saying there are a lot of new agents coming into the business. And in my bricks and mortar company, when I say bricks and mortar, that's even virtual these days, but the Griffin Realty Group is beginning to hire. We're on a big hiring spree because now we're a completely virtual offer to agents. So we're all over Massachusetts. We're going into reciprocal states and beyond. And so I want to preface this particular podcast by saying, I get it. All new agents being birthed into the business these days have a different world to deal with than I did when I first came into this business. Mine was very physical. In fact, we used to just simply get a printout of the properties in a book. So it is extremely different. But there's a big dilemma, and I say this in my coaching program a lot, especially to the top producers that I deal with. What problem are you solving and why? So I know that social media is going to be a big topic of conversation, and I like to talk about social media, but I like to put social media in its place. And that's the first point I make here. I think it's scary when I hear this. I spend a lot of time on social media and I finally got a lead. To me, that is just jaw-droppingly scary. And here's why. I have to face the facts as a realist. Somewhere along the line, the National Association of Realtors says that 89% of real estate agents will be out of the business within the first 5 years. That bothers me. That's a problem. If you've ever listened to this podcast, if it's the first time you're hearing it, whatever it might be, I am big on getting you a plan. I love giving away that free plan at freeagentgift.com. I'll say it over and over and over. It is the outline for the major rocks in the jar for any of us, beginner to the veteran. I know I coach both. I coach brand new people, especially in my brokerage company. And I coach some of the best top producers in both countries, the United States and Canada, who are trying to turn their team mentality into a real business. It's all the fundamental same stuff that we talk about. So I really believe that a plan can help you. So when I hear that somebody is out there spending an enormous amount of time, in this case, it was YouTube. And we're talking about YouTube. So I've been really doing this on YouTube, and I have this strategy down, and, I finally got my first lead. And I'm going to go through this anecdote because this was sort of the highlight of the same theme I'm hearing over and over. And I have to be careful because, I get it. I barge into a Clubhouse room and I start trying to dictate to protect them. I'm going to not be well met there. I understand that. I'm not afraid to tell the truth. Don't get me wrong. I'll come straight through the front door with the truth. But I understand that you can't hit somebody over the head within the beginning because they're dealing with this huge perception that all this business is going to come correctly from social media. I do believe it can come from social media. I was glad to hear the guy got a lead. I was glad to hear that another guy out in Las Vegas who's doing a great job. I mean, aesthetically, his stuff is great, but at least he was strategic, and I'll get to that in a second. So this guy says, I finally got a lead off of YouTube. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, well, I've never had a problem getting leads. And in this case, he was getting an expired lead. So here he is trying to figure out how to get all of his social media recognized simply to get an expired lead. Hold on now and listen to this. You pay dues to belong to the MLS, and the expired listings are right in front of you. Now, don't get me wrong. It's nice to have an inbound inquiry on an expired. I understand that's a lot different from making an outbound call. But by the time the poor guy was done trying to figure out social, which I still believe he should continue to do, the only other question was, well, how much time did you spend making outbound calls to expireds as an alternative to that one that came in? That's my point. I just want to make that point. That's all I want to say. What is the fastest path for you to go out, get contacts where somebody might be interested in listing their house, and then go out and get a conversation going with that person? What's the fastest path? Not what's the slowest path. And I am going to agree that I know all the counterpoints will come at me. Well, it's a slow, steady investment. And eventually, yes, maybe if you're dedicated with a strategy. Let me go back to the guy from Vegas. Young guy, sharp guy, really into TikTok, very focused. But what was most important about him was he's not spending all day on TikTok. He gets a pad of paper, and for 10 minutes, he thinks his ideas down onto a piece of paper. For 20 minutes, he does some filming of those ideas. And then he does 15 minutes worth of editing or so to come up with a 15-second TikTok video each day. That's a strategy. I love it. I thought it was fabulous because he has all the rest of the day. I mean, let's say he's spending an hour a day. Now you're talking. There's a guy with a real strategy. I'm in. I love it. So that's my point, is that I think it's really, really important that if there's some strategic approach on social media, and by the way, let me just also suffice to say, this is where I'm going to come into the next point, the scary thing that I heard after I got my first lead, because that led to another discussion. But the one guy on TikTok says, and look, the only reason for those videos is so I can start a conversation and get them off of TikTok. Loved it. Bravo. 5 gold stars. That's exactly how you look at social media. That's exactly right. It's just a means to an end. It's just another way to get a conversation going. And if you can do something consistently on TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Clubhouse, wherever it might be, and you have a formula like that, and it is leading to conversations that you can take really offline onto a real telephone call, and better yet, a face-to-face where you can discuss listing that property or helping somebody buy a property, I'm in. I'm in. And that's what I tried to do with my social media, is try to chunk it up into a systematic approach that is consistent. For me, it's more of a support cast for the things that I do that I know work way faster than that. And that's picking up the phone. We use telemarketing. We pick up the phone and we call new people that we don't know. We call people that we do know in our sphere of influence, aka our past client list. We're very proactive with telephone. Telephone still works really, really well, and it's not being usurped by anything digital yet. So we love it. But then those people, after hearing from us, they'll go to social, they'll go to the website, and they'll vet us. So I definitely believe all this stuff matters. Here I am right now doing the social media vlog, right? I mean, or doing a vlog for the realtyclassroom.com that will be syndicated everywhere. Sure, I'm in. I get it. But I just don't like that I finally got a lead. I wanted to know, what were you doing with the rest of the day? Please tell me it was something more proactive and more strategic. Because the next question was, great, that's great. And so it was an expired. So tell me the top 3 things you say to an expired. And he just was like a deer in the headlights. You could hear it. Even though Clubhouse is just auditory, you could hear it. He was stuck. He did not know what to say. And my heart dropped for this kid. I mean, he was really, sounded like a nice guy, but my heart dropped. So the second point is, I don't have an offer, right? That's what I heard. I don't have an offer. What's your offer? What do you say? I don't have an offer. I just kind of try to talk to him. Stop everything. Stop all the traffic. Let me stand in the middle of the traffic. You must have an offer that you make to sellers and buyers. You must. It must be succinct. It must be clear, and it must be of value to them. I'm not going to go down the big rabbit hole on how to create an offer, but I'm saying you must have one. Don't ever say, I don't have an offer. I go back to this theme of, what problem are you trying to solve? So here you are trying to solve getting people to talk to you via your YouTube videos and trying to figure out, what do you do? Do you have a strategy for YouTube, or are you just making it up, right? So I don't know. But then all of a sudden, after all that work, you get somebody and you don't have an offer, you will get crushed by somebody who does. If somebody else can meet that person in a similar way, even though your video has brought as close to a kinesthetic experience, meaning kinesthetic being in the room with you, as much as it's helped them know you, like you a little bit, and probably start to trust you, somebody with a very clear offer that shows them how they can win, how that offer is of service, will crush you. You never want to seem like you are that unorganized, and your core offer to a seller and a buyer is everything. I will tell you mine is pretty simple. I have a plan for you. And I do. I have a very clear 7-point plan for my sellers, a very clear 6-point plan for my buyers, 7 points plus a bonus for my agents. You see how quickly I said that? Now, if we want to go down into that offer, I can. But I have chunked it up. Forget about Twitter. I have a plan. That's all I need to say. So if you'd like me to sit down and go through that plan with you and show you how it can serve you, I will. In fact, I'll give you my best what to do stuff for free. Now, of course, if you'd like to know more about how I would do it, we'll sit down in your house, we'll go see some properties, and I'll show you how I do it. That's how confident I am in my offer. In fact, we train that throughout the company and throughout the coaching program. You must have a simple, clear offer that is of service to sellers, buyers, and if you're recruiting, agents, right? Now, let's go off of that subject because that's kind of where that scenario ended. But then I always hear this too. It's about the concept of an ideal client. So one of the things I'm hearing on Clubhouse is I don't have an ideal client. I'll help anybody. And I get it because I probably said exactly the same thing. I remember when I first started the business wanting 2,000 business cards, a desk, a lamp, and I was going to bring the Army helmet and the work ethic. I said that to the guys that hired me at Realty Executives, and we all had a good laugh, and that's probably pretty much what I did. And I didn't have an ideal client. I really hadn't done any real marketing study in my life. I was an economics major. I had been in the finance business. So there wasn't a lot of talk in a marketing way about avatar or ideal client or how important it was. And at that time, I hadn't read Maxwell Maltz's book, The New Psycho-Cybernetics, all about really the guided missile system of the subconscious and the subconscious of the business, quite frankly, that when it has a clear avatar or ideal client, how amazingly it goes after it. It's amazing. And I was that person. So instead of saying, I'm going to do this town, the equivalent of fishing off the dock on Cape Cod would have been the town of Barnstable, 43,000 people, 800 plus or minus sales, 2 times that on the sides. It was plenty. But yet I'm saying, I do Cape Cod. 2.5 hours probably tip to tail, especially in the summertime. And I'll do, anything. I'll take a listing. I'll run around with a buyer. And I did well by the statistical look at the way the business works. I mean, within a year, 2 years, I think I was the rookie of the year for Realty Executives, International, National, whatever they call themselves. I don't know. It was like 13,000 people. And so I was scratching my head saying, all right, well, that was a lot of crazy work, but it was also too easy to ascend to the top. Something's really whacked out here. And it was really just, again, I'll go back to the core. There was no plan. And I was coming out of the venture capital business, and I knew that the best companies were always planning. But it was really, that was just a weird thing. You went, back then there wasn't the internet, so you had to go looking in Barnes & Noble shelves for a real estate agent business plan. It just didn't exist. Everybody had opinions about plans about flipping properties. Carlton Sheets back then. What was the other guy's name? Russ, was there a Whitney? I forget. Anyway, you get the point. There was no plan. It was like helpless. I mean, it really was helpless. And so it was all muscle, and that's no good. So you have to develop an ideal client and stop saying you'll help anybody, at least from a marketing standpoint. I get it. If you need to make some cash and you need that GCI and somebody comes to you through your sphere of influence or you stumble into them and it's not exactly what the ideal client is, that's fine. Do the business. Serve. By the way, if anybody were to come to me hoping for my service, I would serve them. But as a business person and having the right perspective, I have defined a very clear avatar across my seller and buyer. That's a similar one. And then my agent. I have a very clear ideal agent target for the Griffin Realty Group now. Very clear. And in fact, it's very different from what I thought it would be. but I'm extremely clear, and it changes everything. So, for example, I decided that I really, really wanted to do median and above business. Some might call that luxury. I would just say I start at median so nobody gets intimidated, because it didn't take me any more effort to do things that are at the median and above. And so the profit margin was greater. And in fact, people appreciated a professional plan, I found, at that side of the distribution of pricing. And they just did. Other people, I felt that it had too much riding on their property when it was a lower price property. And I'm not making a socioeconomic statement here. I'm just saying, as a business person, I want more profit. Okay. I'm not gonna flinch at that. I'm of service to people, and that's my methodology. Okay. So my heart is 100% behind this, but I'm a business person who has a responsibility to being the most profitable company I can be. So I look to the right of the curve and I serve there with intentional focus, and it made a huge difference in my business. A huge difference in my business. Okay. So have an ideal client. Stop saying you'll help everybody. And the last one here today, and this is the warm-up act. I've only been on Clubhouse a short period of time, doing a lot of listening. I hear this apologetic. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that gal. I don't want to be that person. Oh, it's like listening to somebody take their fingernails to the chalkboard and scratch. That is the most negative connotation of what we do as the sales part of our business here. Okay. Remember, real estate agent business, not real estate agent job. That's what this is, because you are responsible for all of these things: marketing, conversion, closing, past client community. Those are the manageable modules as far as I'm concerned. And so when you start talking about conversion, meaning you got that, let's go back to the guy on YouTube. He got that lead and he gets in a conversation, and instead of, he gets all weirdly defensive and he defaults to, well, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be pushy. What's it got to do with pushy? This person came to you off the internet after all the hard work that you did. You better be ready with an offer to say, here's why you should do business with me above and beyond all other options, including nothing at all. That's not pushy. That's just smart. That's just organized. That's just prepared. So stop being an apologetic. See, you have this misperception if you say that the sales part of this is pushy, because you're not prepared, or you haven't been coached, or you don't have a plan. Those are legitimate reasons to say stuff like that. But if you're saying that on a regular basis, man, you better get yourself organized, because you will be one of that 89% that's gone in the first 5 years if that's the way you think every time you get an opportunity. Look, I've been doing it for 21 years as an agent broker, okay? So I say agent because at some point I became a broker early on. I'm still an active person in the field with my very core. I'm going to be careful the way I say team. We don't just buy a bunch of internet leads and dump them on buyers agents. That's what a lot of you think team is. I actually have a real telemarketer who sets me up for real appointments. Those real clients go over to my client care manager, then to my closing coordinator, specialist extraordinaire, and then back to the client care for the past client. And I oversee and step in at all the critical moments. For example, going to the house to list it, showing the exact property they're ready to make an offer on, and then also negotiating. Okay. So I've elevated my involvement in it to that level. And so we have people who are specialists, and we're not apologetic about that. And we're not shrinking violets. Those people are begging to be led through that process by a pro and a team of pros like that. And we do. And we don't hesitate. When you tell us you want something, we empower you by saying, look, we're going to move through this swiftly, but here's the plan we're following. So you'll never be lost. You'll feel empowered. Every decision will be yours. So we're not going to sit there and, well, I'm not like you, Danny. You can say it as softly as you want, but you must be prepared to lead. You want to be the velvet hammer? Wonderful. But you better still have the hammer inside the velvet. You need organization. Stop being a shrinking violet in a business where people are looking for people to lead them through the single largest financial and emotional transaction most will make in a lifetime. All right, let me summarize this again. These are some of the scariest things I've heard listening to agents on Clubhouse, where now I really have the ability to listen in. Hey, I spend a lot of time on social media and I finally got a lead. My best advice is like the guy that I heard in Vegas: get organized about how you're going to use social media as a portion of what you do. If you're all in on social media, you are missing the time spent on all these other opportunities to get in somebody's ear via outbound phone calls, in somebody's face via open houses. There are so many things you need to keep doing that this business still provides and haven't gone away because of the internet. So get yourself organized on social, keep it in its lane as part of what you do, and stop sitting there waiting around for it to all of a sudden become miraculously successful. It will happen over time. It is an investment, but make sure you're tweaking to see that it is getting some milestones hit. Otherwise, you are wasting your time. 2, I don't have an offer. If you listen to this, please don't ever be without your offer. In my case, it's I have a plan for you. Here are the 7 steps. Here are the 6 steps to buy. Here are the 8 steps to be a successful agent. If you'd like to know what to do, I have a whole magazine on those I offer to them. If you'd like me to show you how to do it, we can get together. Boom. You don't need a sophisticated, weird, whacked out offer. Okay. It's just straightforward of service plans. Next, I don't have an ideal client. I'll help anybody. Don't do that. I've done it. It's a mistake. You really want to think like a true marketer that says there is a geography, there is a price range at which and above, and there is a very specific person who really will be ready for your plan. Define that person and you'll be shocked at how often they show up. And lastly, I don't want to be that guy or that gal. Please don't say that. Please don't say that. That means you are undertrained on how to talk to somebody professionally. They are silently begging to be led. And if you're just waiting for them to miraculously choose you, even after all that hard work of getting them, this won't be pretty for you. Okay? All right. Let me summarize it this way. I ask myself, my agents, and my coaching members all the time, what problem are you solving and why that one? The pressure to become a social media expert has never been greater. And while it's important to solve all relevant social media challenges, it's critical that all of your efforts and actions, all of them, are geared toward helping you acquire listings at the right place. Let's say this, at the right price. I'll start with, even more importantly, in the right place, your geography, from the right person, your avatar. All right, now remember, I'm getting all excited. I'm starting to stutter here. Remember, you can take immediate action and get started in the right direction with a copy of this free agent plan that I have waiting for you at freeagentgift.com. Also, don't forget, you can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen. We'd also appreciate it. Hey, send us your comments. Engage me. Find me on Clubhouse. I'm there. We're doing a lot of agent, help stuff. I'll take your live questions and comments there. We do one on Fridays at 1:00 where you can eavesdrop on sales training, and I jump on Clubhouse at the same time. I'm here. Engage me and I'll help you. Hey, thanks for listening. But remember one big important thing. I always sign off the same way. Nobody's coming for you. Nobody. So go get to work on your own business, and I will see you in the next episode to help you do just that. Thanks.